How we doing, everyone? MJS back again with another video here. Today, what we're going to chat about is the current state of the sport of ball hockey. So a lot of you watching this are probably familiar with the sport. Some of you might not be, depending on where you're watching this. If you are watching it, thank you so much. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, like the video, all that jazz. But the reason that I want to make this video is because I've been involved in this community for a long time. I've seen it grow tremendously. Recently, over the past 1 to 5-ish years, more so in the last like 1 to 2 to 3, there's been significant growth all over the sport, all over the country of the United States, and plus all over the world, really. But I'm going to focus mainly on the United States because that's what I know, and that's the community that I'm really involved in. But we're going to talk about all of that, and we're going to have a specific emphasis on where I think the sport needs to go next, mostly just my opinion from things that I've seen outside of this community, also throughout sports, though, and throughout just general life, because I think that over time, as something like this starts to evolve, you really start to get more of a person-to-person connection, try to build like relationships, and just all sorts of stuff. So let's dive into this because I've got a lot to say, and I'm very interested to see what you guys think. Okay, so what you see on the screen right now is my best attempt at trying to organize my thoughts on this and what I think to be the best way to explain it. So it's kind of 3 parts: context, research, and then what to do. If you want to stop the video, you can take a look at it, but these are just the notes that I'm going to work through, and I'll add more detail to each one of these as we go. So let's just start out with the context. So recently, within the past 2 years, the NBHL has become a thing. I was lucky enough to be a member of it. It was a great time. I actually went to the Milec Cup too. It was fantastic. I have nothing but praises to give to the NBHL and everything that they're doing. I've even talked to some members of the team behind the scenes. They got big plans. Fantastic stuff that they're doing there. As in terms of a league, I think it's incredible what they're doing with the multiple tier system and all that sort of stuff. Anything specifically related to that would not really be in the scope of this video, but I would be completely silly if I did not mention all of the things that they have done so far for the sport to help grow it, along with other organizations as well. They're just the one that comes to mind. But the point here is that, in my opinion of this, that's just kind of the first step. And obviously we're very early. It's only been a couple years with this league specifically and the movement around the country. So moving forward, though, I think that the next steps are going to be crucial in trying to grow the sport even more. But so far, I think it's off to an incredibly good start. Now, the one thing that I want to kind of illustrate and give you an idea, just something to think about. If you look at the NBHL and relate it to, and not just the NBHL, the sport of ball hockey, if you look at that and relate it to ice hockey or football or literally anything else, you kind of see, at least for me, I see a trend. So you look at it, and as a fan, take it from the spectator point of view, or somebody that is like interested in that sport, maybe somebody that wants to get into that sport, but at a young age, you're probably interested in a certain sport. Let's use ice hockey because it's the closest, right? So you're interested in the sport, and then you're probably interested in the league, which is generally like the biggest league in the sport, right? So we'll say the NHL, and then probably you're interested in a city because you live in that city or you're tied to that city in some way. We'll say, in my case, we'll say Pittsburgh, okay? And then you're interested, well, does that city have a team? Or, is there a closely related team to that city? In our case, my case, it's the Penguins, so the Pittsburgh Penguins. And then a player. Now, this is where it gets interesting, and this is where the entire talk that I want to chat about here really, kind of comes into play. What player, in that case, maybe it's Crosby, maybe it's Malkin, whoever the hell it is, but there's a player, right? Like, you like the team, you root for the team. And hockey is actually, as a quick aside, hockey is a little bit of an enigma here because it's not about as much personal branding as like other sports I've seen. Basketball is very much like that, football to a certain degree, but team sports are a little weird, but there's still an element there, and I will show you some examples as we move forward here. But the point that I'm trying to make is that Connor McDavid is a great example. The dude's amazing, right? Everybody knows that. Generational talent. He's very good. People love watching highlights of him. People probably love, younger kids definitely look up to him. They want to be like him. They want to skate like him. They probably want to use the same gear as he does, like all sorts of stuff like that, okay? take those concepts and just keep them in your mind as I move forward through talking about all this other stuff that we're going to talk about here. So one quick note that I want to make in this as well is the context surrounding this is not just ball hockey. Like, if you're watching this for the ball hockey reason, okay. But if you're watching this as just like, a follower of my content or somebody that's kind of like interested in this, it's not just about that. It's really a personal branding conversation with a ball hockey, wrapping on it. So this can be applied anywhere. You just have to change a few details here and there, and I should make more content about that, but for a different video. The last thing here is you may not like the people that I reference as examples. That doesn't matter at all. Like, don't look at the people, look at like the concepts that I'm trying to use them as examples for, and we can just go from there. All right, so now I want to talk about part 2 of this, the research. Now, in order to do a video like this, I needed to obviously do some sort of research on the current state of affairs, we'll say, in the ball hockey community from a personal branding standpoint in the US, and also try to do it overseas. Couldn't find too much overseas. They have the league marketing and all that sort of stuff down, the branding and teams and all that. And obviously at a national level, it's kind of a different story as well. But we're talking about specifically individuals on these teams. So for the most part, I'm going to talk about top NBHL people, and then also just other top individuals in the ball hockey community in the United States. I'm not going to mention specifics. I'm just going to mention overall motifs that I found. So you can see on the screen here some of those notes because I thought it was just easier to go through it like this. So like the NBHL's current best top players again in the United States. If you look at Instagram, for instance, right? Everybody has an Instagram. Everybody likes to show pictures of their life and stuff like that. Social media generation. I think it's great. I think there's better ways to use it. The first thing that I will say, though, that is very good is you don't want it to be all about hockey. There's personal sides on there. People have, lives. People have families. People have pets, all that sort of stuff. It's very good. I think a lot of top-level players do show a good mixture of, like, hockey and then also personal sides. This is just like any influencer that you follow in any sort of industry, whether it's an athlete or like a movie star. Like, they show the stuff that they do and then they show their family stuff. Whether it's an entrepreneur, they show business stuff, they show personal stuff. So it's a good mix there. That's definitely good. Some quick hits as far as like things that wouldn't work if you're listening to this and you're interested and you want to try to actually take some steps here that we'll talk about in a little bit. You can't be private because you're technically like there's no athletes that are private, right? Like, they're public figures. Now, again, we'll talk more about specifics here in a second, but you can't be private. It's understandable that you're private because you're just like a regular person, obviously, but it wouldn't be suitable if you're trying to build like a personal public brand. Obviously, you'd be like a public figure. So that's one thing to note. We'll come back to that. The next thing is I'm not really seeing much info. I'm not seeing like city, I'm not seeing team, I'm not seeing stats, I'm not seeing gear, and I'm not saying throw all of that shit into your like bio. That's not really what I'm saying, but like there's more ways and more interesting ways that would definitely spice up the content that you post, but also build your brand in a sense of not something that's superficial, like just people would appreciate seeing that. If people admire you for whatever it is, again, it could be ball hockey, it could be whatever talent that you have, whatever craft that you're trying to continue to get better at, people will appreciate that, and people will be able to, you'll resonate with people more. Trust me on that. The next thing is not much brand consistency. Now, that's a little deeper, but just using myself an example, like red and black, like that type of thing, that's completely ridiculous. You don't need to have like personal colors if you're just like an athlete or whatever, but I'm saying it kind of just harkens back to the whole type of thing, like your city, your team, like whatever you want to be, that should just be what you're trying to, put off as your persona on these different platforms, whether it's Facebook or Instagram, websites, stuff like that we'll get into. The biggest thing, though, that I don't understand really is there's a lot of really talented players that are coaches for young players, like in Chipmunk leagues, Penguin leagues, Beaver, Cadet, whatever it is, and you're an inspiration to those young players. Like, you may not realize it, but in a lot of cases, like even like average players, like depends on where you're at relative to the person you're talking to or the age of the person, whatever, like, you are the Connor McDavid in their eyes, right? Now, they watch TV and they see Sidney Crosby, Connor McDavid, and they see that on ice, and it's okay. But if they're ball hockey players, you are that player. And we do. I'm not gonna say that this doesn't happen, because this definitely does happen. I've seen it happen at events. I saw it at the Milet Cup. They have the USA players come out and play with the kids and stuff like that. Do not stop that. That's not what I'm referring to. What I'm saying is, like, on a more individual. Everything that I'm talking about here is on an individual basis that supplements all of the work being done by United States ball hockey and NBHL and all of that. So just keep that in mind. But you need to be able to do that on your own too, because I'm telling you, it's going to benefit you. It's going to make your reputation better. It's going to feel good that you're an inspiration for those younger kids and whatever it is, again, in ball hockey in this case. And it's just going to benefit you. So you're an inspiration. Make sure that you put that out in anything that is public, and just be a good person in general, obviously. The other thing, though, that I want to chat here about is understand. You have to understand this reality. It's like an understood reality that I don't really think a lot of people kind of talk about. It's timing and circumstance. So there's a lot of great ball hockey players we'll put it like this. There's a lot of great ball hockey players that probably didn't get the chance to play in the NBHL because they were just like, the NBHL came to be after they, kind of aged out in a sense, right? That's one way to look at it. The other thing is, maybe like you're in your back half of your career now or whatever, just, age happens, right? People get older and, you don't have that same type of thing. So that's an understandable circumstance. This conversation, like every conversation, is not meant specifically for everybody. But that doesn't mean that you can't still leverage these types of things. There's many people that are making, different brands and stuff like that in the ball hockey community, business, different types of business opportunities and stuff like that. So just take, again, what I'm saying and adapt it to your personal circumstance, but that is an understood, reality of this situation. The last thing here is, if you like the sport and the community more than your job, you really might want to listen to this, okay? So that is like another type of thing there. It's about timing, it's about circumstance, but don't just think that because people are not getting paid to play ball hockey right now, they will never get paid to play ball hockey, okay? That's a hard thing to realize, and because it's abstract, and it's like, oh, why would we get paid to play ball hockey? I'm not saying it's going to happen tomorrow or next year. I'm just saying that I'm saying two things. One, don't anticipate it happening tomorrow. It could very well happen. Don't rule it out. But the other thing is that don't pigeonhole yourself into thinking that's the only way that you could potentially make any sort of money or income from that. Okay. As a quick aside, I don't really have specifics on this, but I know for a fact that NHL players, they get paid a salary, but they also get paid brand deals and things like that, right? And I already know, and I know that there are brands big hockey brands, Bauer, CCM, whatever. There are already not competitors, but there are relative, similarities in ball hockey companies now, right? So there are already things that are kind of mirrored in that sense, and I know that they have brand ambassadors, right? I can name a few off the top of my head: Napper, Legend, Hagen, all sorts of stuff like that. So there's going to be more. It's growing. Those things didn't exist. Maybe they existed, but they've obviously grown in the last 5 years. So just keep that in mind, that don't just be like, oh, wow, I'm a good ball hockey player and I'm never going to get paid for this, so I'm not going to worry about it. Again, timing and circumstance is definitely something to consider, but there's a lot more to it, okay? And at the end of the day, your team matters, your city matters, your league matters, but at the real end of the day, you as an individual player or even a community member is one of the most important things, right? So it's as if not more important. So just take all that with a grain of salt, and that was kind of that initial research of what I currently see going on, which kind of sparked me to make these, put this all together and talk about this. Now, what I want to chat about is some examples of just some people, specifically athletes here, that I found that are doing a good job. I've seen some of their content, and I think that they'd be at least some examples for you to look at and be like, that kind of makes sense. Maybe that's for me. Maybe that's not for me. Okay, so just stick with me here, and we'll chat about this. So the first one is Trevor Bauer. Obviously not a hockey player. He's a baseball player. But he has Instagram, he has a vlog, he has a website, he has a business, like a business brand attached to all that. And, we don't have to go super in depth, but you can go check him out. Again, it's not about if you like him or not. It's about if you think that it makes sense from a conceptual standpoint as you as like a up and coming athlete or like an athlete that, not to mention, random thought just popped in my head. How cool would it be? This is a kind of a ridiculous example, but how cool would it have been if you were like one of the first baseball players? Totally ridiculous because like the times are totally different. But you know what I'm saying? Like you have the opportunity here to pioneer a sport. Why wouldn't you leverage that? I don't know. Anyway, so again, back to Trevor Bauer here. Does a great job, I think, for the most part with the content, everything like that. Again, has the website, has like a personal website, built a brand around it, which again, that is like the key right there. Because I don't want to skip ahead, but at the end of this, I'll chat briefly about that's the whole thing is you make a personal brand and then you can leverage your personal influence to build another brand like a media company in Trevor's case here, something like that. But again, go look more into him. I don't really have any specific examples. I just know that he does a pretty good job with that. One example that I literally found today that I had no idea about was Tyler Seguin. And I've heard of Tyler Seguin and I know that he's a good player, but he also has like a really good situation going on here. At least from, again, like a branding standpoint. He's got a nice Instagram, good stuff there. I'm not going to go too deep into that, but he also has a personal website, tylersagan.com. One of the best ones I've seen. And we're not talking about design or anything. I'm just talking about like all of the things like he has like his things that have happened to him, like almost like a little timeline thing of his accolades and stuff in the NHL and all that. Brands that I guess he's partnered with, right? He's got basically like TS91 is kind of like his personal brand that goes along with his stuff that he has going on. And then he even has things like this, like Tyler's Tattoos. Like that's like that personal, little pinch of stuff that you need to put in there, which is all good because people care. Again, I'm going to stop here for a second. Tyler Seguin is a great National Hockey League player, right? It doesn't matter though. Like you could be some random person on the internet talking about stuff and people will still care about you if you develop a story and try to develop that relationship with them via the content that you post. So don't look at this and get completely jaded and think that, oh, wow, he's making, $10 million a year, whatever the hell he's making. And, he's a professional athlete and I can never be like that. It's not true at all. Okay. I'm not saying you're going to make $10 million a year, but I am saying that you'd absolutely make enough money to survive off of just like little things like this that are probably way more enjoyable than the other things that you do in your life. That is a conversation for a different video. I'm going to get back to this. Tyler Seguin, great example. I would say probably one of the best. And I don't know if I already said this. I see basically nobody in the NHL making websites or like really developing that personal brand like we mentioned earlier. It seems like other sports. I would love to see ball hockey be a little bit different than that because I really do think that there's a lot of value that people can add. And that's just kind of my point. What I want to do here next, this next example, if I don't see somebody do this in the next like year, or honestly, like if I don't see somebody actually put this into place in ball hockey within the next like 1 to 3 years and just go really hard on it, I might have to do it myself. I don't want to do it myself. I'm probably not going to. But this I Train Hockey keeps popping up. I watch one hockey video, like one highlight video or whatever on Instagram in the feed or whatever, and these just keep popping up. This guy, Sean Walker, is doing incredible things with this brand. And I don't know this person, whatever. I just see these videos from time to time. These videos are the most engaging thing that I've ever watched. Now, he's a certain personality. He's like when he's on the rink with these kids, he's training them, and he's got a very loud voice. He's very good at what he does. So I'm not saying this is for everyone. You could try, obviously. But the point that I want to make here is that I'm not going to play one of these videos. I don't know if I'm supposed to do that or whatever, but just go to, I'll have links in the description or whatever, but go to I Train Hockey, okay, on Instagram, and just look at some of these videos, specifically the ones where he has kids out on the ice and he's doing one of these training sessions. Absolutely amazing. Like, it's one thing to train the kids well, but and make them better at hockey, in this case ice hockey, But if you are good at that and you film it and you put that on here, he's got almost, he's got 83,000 followers. And it's not all about the followers, but I'm sure he's doing well just because he's paying somebody to film him with a camera while he's teaching these kids how to play hockey. Okay. So the point that I'm making here is I basically see nobody at all doing this. I've seen maybe one or two. I've definitely seen videos in the past, but nothing substantial. Okay. Nothing to this magnitude. And this isn't even groundbreaking. There's no crazy edits here or anything like that. He's just filming, some deking drills and passing and all that sort of stuff. But a little bit of his personality is a big thing. But again, the bigger thing is just that he's doing it, really. If somebody with any amount of skill in the ball hockey community did this, you'd be an overnight sensation. Perhaps not to the point of this, because again, the people that are interested in ice hockey is still larger than ball hockey. But I'm telling you that you would have no competition until somebody else decided, oh wow, this person's having a lot of success. Maybe I should try to do that as well. I'm just saying, I think that there's a lot of opportunity left on the table from a lot of the very talented players that I have played against, have played with, have just, had the pleasure to be around in the community. That's all I'm saying. And I think all of this, again, can coalesce between the leagues and the countries and the teams and the players. And that, when you bring it down to this individual level, there's just so much opportunity. So again, go look at this guy. And if you made a video like this, if you made 10 videos like this with ball hockey, I guarantee you if you continue to do that, you'd start popping off. So that's what I would say. The only other thing I had here was the website there. Again, great website. Kind of secondary, though, to all the other stuff, because you just develop that thing. But you can kind of see even in those videos there, he's engaged. And again, just kind of seeing the kids too, him instruct them. I don't know. I can't say enough about it. I just think it's great. Okay, so a couple more bits of research here and other things to kind of show you. I didn't know this, but if you go to NHL.com and you scroll all the way down, they do have a button down here that says player sites, and you can click on other players, player sites and stuff like that. I don't think it has all of them because it doesn't even have Tyler Seguin and stuff. But again, just examples if you're interested in doing more research on your own. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you is potentially a shameless plug, but not really, because it is literally just giving you more ideas and you can do whatever you want. I have a personal website. It's just my name.com, markjosephszymanski.com. And it's not all devoted to ball hockey. There's just one page on it that's ball hockey. And I kind of did it for two reasons. One, because I wanted to do it. And the second reason was because I wanted to show what you could do to give, again, more ideas. So this is very simple. I'm not going to go into how I built this and all that sort of stuff. That's definitely a topic for a different video. But again, more examples. This was modeled off of, if you go to NHL.com and you click on a player and what you see. Because, why reinvent the wheel when you don't have to? So, headshot, picture, name, number, position, height, weight, age, team, all that sort of stuff. More information, little summary, stuff like that. Stats, in this case, is just linking to those things, but again, with more evolution and other things. And maybe this is an NBHL idea to continue to build out, these types of things for players. I don't know. I still like players doing things on themselves, taking the ambition and initiative and doing that type of stuff. But these are very simple concepts. Information, stats, photos. Everybody's taking photos, right? Put some photos on, Instagram and also on your website, your personal thing. Videos, great stuff to have. This is the kicker though, okay? I don't see anybody doing this. And I truly think that it's opportunity lost, because I guarantee you people care. I remember when I was really into hockey, I'm still into ball hockey, but when I really watched NHL growing up and stuff, I would be I wonder what kind of stick Sidney Crosby uses. And I remember typing that in, and I'd try to go to World Hockey Blog Forum or something like that. I'm not even sure if it still exists. And I was like, oh, what kind of new Bauer sticks are coming out and stuff like that. And, oh, who's using them and all that. And I'm like, why would you as a player not capitalize on the opportunity to tell your younger people that are interested in watching you play, your fans? Why would you lose that opportunity? It's oh, everybody loves like a game worn Crosby stick or shirt or, jersey or, helmet or whatever. But like at the same time though, you have these kids looking up to you. Like give them something to, consume, like information to consume. All this is right here, all this page here, this gear section is like the stuff that I own. Okay. And this is a different concept, kind of called like, you could call it affiliate marketing, you could call it a bunch of other stuff. We're not going to get into that right now. But at the core of this, I literally just went on and I took like the things that I bought and I purchased with my own money and I used as gear and I put it in here and then I put a link to it on Amazon. Now, you're going to probably say, Mark, that's cool. I understand the concept that you were saying there, but why would I go to the trouble of doing that? Well, as a little bit of a tidbit or sneak peek to that concept that I just said, affiliate marketing, we're not going to go all the way in depth on this, but let's take, these, let's take this, for example, these little elbow pad things. If they click on this link, it's a special link. When they go to Amazon and they purchase anything on Amazon, I get a small percentage of what they make. It's called Amazon affiliates. Look it up or ask me, whatever. But that works for anything. That's, again, not just ball hockey. A lot of concepts here overlap with many other things, right? But the point that I'm trying to make is this is amazing. Okay, the concept is amazing. If marketed well and put on the right person's site, right, and it's like somebody that is, huge in a community, I just think it's a great idea. Okay, so that's my point. Is like I guarantee you that you have been asked as a ball hockey player, what stick do you use? Okay, and you have to answer that question. Again, not a hard thing to answer that question, but as the popularity continues to increase in this sport, more young people, more new people are going to be interested in what you as an individual player are doing, are using, and this is another just a little small type of thing that is hugely impactful, I think. So those are just some more examples of some stuff that you can do if you try to kind of put all this into motion. So let's say you just listen to me talk about all that stuff, give you all those examples, and you're like, okay, Mark, that all sounds great. I kind of understand where you're going, but what should I actually do? All right, I'm going to tell you some basic things that you can do to get started. The first thing I want you to do, and I think you should do, is do your own research, okay? Don't just take all of that stuff that I said for granted. I know I showed you some examples and things, but do your own research and, like we said earlier, put this in your own perspective. Does it make sense for you? Is it worth your time? Like, do you actually want to do it? If you don't want to do it, you probably shouldn't do it, okay? But if you think that it's something that is up your alley and, you are, a ball hockey player or any other thing, and you want to develop some sort of like personal brand, I would 100%, tell you to do it, okay? So that's the first thing. Research, own perspective, all that sort of stuff. But let's say that you're going to do that. You've made the decision. It makes sense for you. You're going to continue forward. Next thing you should probably do is make your current social profiles public so you can just kind of start there, or create new ones and like keep that one private. I'm going to tell you right now though, I had a personal Instagram and then like a public or, like personal brand thing. So it was like Mark Szymanski and then Mark Joe Szymanski. It really is completely ridiculous and extremely difficult to manage. I wouldn't recommend that. But that's the first thing you should probably do. If you're trying to make a step into like the idea of building a brand, you need to be public so people can see your stuff without, being behind a wall, right? That doesn't make any sense. The next thing that I would say is try to start the initial steps of developing some sort of consistent branding. Just take out a Word document or a Google Doc and just start typing like, the very basic stuff about you, okay? Type in, like you saw on that one page, like, birthplace, birthday, team, height, weight, like just like create a player, okay? Go into an NHL game and create a player on a Google document, okay? Just do that type of stuff because those small little details are just going to start making really, again, your personal brand, but just start making you like your public information in this sense. You just start putting it together, right? If we talk more about the branding type thing, I have usernames in there because I like consistency. So if you notice on all of my stuff, it's Mark J. Szymanski. You don't really need to do that, but maybe just don't make your Instagram handle for your hockey and your personal brand, like something totally unrelated. That's all I mean by that. The next thing you have to do after you get all of that in order, all that initial info, and you start setting that type of stuff up, you need to start thinking about how you're going to provide content. Now, to this point, like I said earlier, it's not that bad. I didn't really see any glaring problems with like content on some of the stuff that I saw. But just think about it in terms of, is it entertainment or is it education? Or is it like, kind of like almost like announcement type stuff, right? So is it like, if it's a hockey picture, or family stuff and all that sort of stuff. But the big thing is entertainment or education. Is it like highlights? Fantastic. 100% put that type of stuff on there. Is it education? Like the training, if you go that route? Brilliant, right? But just make sure you're providing content. You probably want it to be somewhat regular. That would be a good idea. But again, you're just trying to build that brand through the content. It's kind of still a separate discussion. Just again, go off those examples, and there's a lot more to that. But you need to do something. You can't just have a blank Instagram or a blank website or blank whatever. That's not helpful. That's all I mean by that. The next thing we're gonna do here, or the next thing that I would consider you do, is just go type in on Google domains or any other domain registrar, and just start looking. If you think that this is really something you want to do and you're already past those steps and you're putting out content and you have some sort of brand established, you absolutely need a website. I don't care what anybody tells you. I'm not trying to sell you a website. I've been building websites for 4 years. I love it. I think they're extremely vital. Again, a different topic, but just in like the scope of what you're trying to do here, like again with Tyler Sagan's as an example, you need something. So all a domain name is tylersagan.com or firstnamelastname.com or firstnamelastname.number.com or something. Just do something that makes sense for you, right? markjosephszymanski.com. Look what's available, because I'm going to tell you what, those domains are only $12 per year, and a lot of them are gone already. So I guarantee you can't, there's a good chance that if you have a normal name, you probably can't get it. So that's what I mean, is if you're trying to establish a personal brand, you're going to need something like that, because it's, again, kind of vital. But go ahead and do that. If you have any questions, again, leave questions and comments and stuff like that down below the video. I'd love to chat about all this stuff. I could talk for hours more. In that same vein with the domain name thing, think about building a website, or just think about like how you would construct something similar as you continue to evolve. And again, I want to stress this point because it's a very common thing, I think, that trips people up. You don't have to have a full like website or a full plan or all of that content in place when you start. Like the Tyler Sagan one, again, as an example. You don't need to have a full website with 17 different sections and 20 different pages and a bunch of different brands and stuff like that. You could start with one page, like just real simple, okay? I'm not going to go into the details of building a website. That's definitely a separate video, but just understand that it is possible, and it's not like super expensive. There's many different options, but if you want this, don't let that be the thing that, no, I can't do it because, I can't put together a single page website. Don't let that be the problem, okay? You need the vision. You need to understand the concepts. You need to believe in this, and then you can pretty much do whatever you want, okay? Last thing that I'm going to say, just because I want to hammer it home, because I talked about it earlier and I said I was going to talk about it at the end, is this is what happens, okay? If you're listening to this whole thing and you're like, Mark, this is really kind of cool, but I don't understand how this helps me really in any way, you really have to be a long-term thinker, okay? If you are in a position right now where you're a young star, okay, or a young like good player or a young anything, again, and you are planning on being alive for another 60 years or whatever, and you plan on doing things that is not just like going to work and coming home and then going to play at the local rink or whatever, and you want to do something a little bit more with this community or really anything else, because there'd be other doors that would open for you with this, leverage your influence. Build this brand. Just keep working at it. It's just you. It's the easiest brand to build. You. Leverage your influence over time in this brand that you create and this following that you create and the people that admire you to build something else, okay? Build something else. You don't have to be a ball hockey player for the rest of your life, obviously. You don't have to, like NHL players and stuff like that, they're not going to play hockey for the rest of their life. They're using that to build a following and then most of the time build something else if they're savvy, right? And if they have the right help. So that's what I'm saying, is this is not a conversation specifically about ball hockey. This is a conversation about personal branding and like your future as just an independent person that doesn't have to like deal with other BS like in your like professional life, or at least a limited amount if you can, do these types of things on your own and leverage the gifts and talents and stuff that you've been given. So having said all of that, I really hope that this was at least somewhat educational, at least a little thought-provoking. If it's not for you, don't do it. If it does make sense, start doing it today, right? Ask me questions. I'd be more than happy. I'm not an expert in any of this, okay? I've just been dabbling in it for like the last 4 years, doing all sorts of different stuff. But this I really think is the next step. I truly believe that. I don't know if I'm going to be the person that says it and it, people listen and it comes to fruition, but I guarantee you that it just by natural progression, this will happen at some point because the sport is just continuing to grow. There's too many good people. There's too many good players. There's too many good administrators. There's too many good coaches. There's too many good people in this community for it not to continue to grow. So I guarantee you that this will become a part of it because it's already happening. There's already young players looking up to older players. There's already less talented players looking up to more talented players, stuff like that. And I just really think that even if you implement some of this, you'd have a lot of success, especially that training aspect too. I want to harken on that because that is 100% a gold mine. But yeah, so I'm going to leave it there. I hope, again, that this has been somewhat educational. I would greatly appreciate if you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave a comment if you have an opinion on this, because I am more than happy to chat about it and to bounce around ideas and, even be a part of it to some degree. I can't say exactly what level I can be a part of it at, but I would just love to see this happen, more of this. So yeah, with that, thank you guys so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it, and I will talk to you in the next one.